and welcome back to the Plant-Based Asia Summit. I'm Angie, and this afternoon we have a very special presentation coming up from your very own co-host, Luke Tan. Now, Luke is a coach, author, and the co-host of this Plant-Based Asia Summit and the Plant Fit Summit. Now, using a plant-based diet, he helps clients build a strong mind, body, while living with a deep sense of purpose. Hi, Luke.
Hello, Ange. Thank you for the amazing intro. And what a role reversal, isn't it? Normally, I'm the one doing the interviewing, and now I'm the one sharing about my expertise and living a balanced life. So thank you for that. I'm looking forward to speaking to all you guys watching and listening out there.
Awesome, Luke. We are super excited to learn about your 6 pillars to a balanced life. I myself have my notebook ready to take notes. So without further ado, Luke, the floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ange. So what are the 6 pillars? I want you to take a moment right now on your notepad or even on your computers, write some notes. These are the 6 pillars I look at: how stressed you are, how much you connect with the people around you, how much time you spend in nature, how much movement do you integrate to your day, and what is your nutrition or fuel like? And finally, how are you sleeping? On a scale of 1 to 5, so at least for stress, that's the one that you might be wondering. So 5 meaning you're quite zen, 0, you're super stressed. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. So just probably have a look and see what you're lacking most. And maybe that is the pillar that you want to focus on a little bit more today. So I'll be going through all the 6 pillars today. So the very first pillar is movement. I'm going to ask you right now, are you sitting or standing watching this presentation right now? I would bet you that you're likely sitting. I'm actually standing today. If you can see my standing desk, my dad made this little stand for me, and I do work standing. Why do I stand? Because a while back, I read a research saying that sitting is the new smoking, and it elevates your risk of chronic disease by 10 to 20%. And the problem with sitting is that it's not just elevating your risk of chronic disease, but also it adds to poor posture, lack of circulation, and lethargy as well. When we think about how much we're sitting in, the reason why I started standing while working up, so I stand and work most of the day, about 8 to 9 hours on top of training. So if we look at a whole week, that's about 168 hours. If we want to integrate a 5, every day you're commuting for, say, 1 hour or so, 3 times a week working out if you are, that is a total of 0.04% of the time that you're actually moving. Just think about it. If you're sitting at work and then you're sitting at lunch, you're sitting in public transport, and eventually you're coming back to sit for dinner, and maybe you're on the couch watching Netflix or something like that. It's not even 1%, I would say. So we're spending a lot of time sitting. And when I did a stock take on how much I was sitting, I was blown away. So that's why I've actually started standing. So when I think of standing, I've created a working desk, a standing desk. On top of that, I bought this little foldable standing desk. And when I do work outside at coffee shops, I will fold it up and unfold it and work standing. And that is one of the simplest things that you can actually do to integrate movement into your day, because most of the day we're all spent sitting down. So working standing is one aspect. And beyond that, for the pillar 1 movement piece is work. Why work standing if we want to look at calorie burn? Okay. For example, if you are working when you're standing, you're burning about 149 calories. When you're sitting, you're burning 89 calories. So by working when you're standing, you're essentially adding 60 calories of extra burn. So we multiply that by 8 hours, it's a total of 480 calories. So if you're eating really well, you're really, by working standing, you are in a calorie deficit. So weight loss and of course posture is going to be will be facilitated, will be improved. So if you don't want to work standing for at least a full day, you can integrate movement breaks. So let's say if you're working in the office and you don't really have a standing desk, what you could do is integrate these things called spot drills. So spot drills meaning, so you set yourself a time frame. You can set your alarm clock to work for about 30 to 45 minutes. And in that 30 to 45 minutes, once the 45 minutes is over, just get up for 5 minutes, get up for a glass of water, coffee, do some squats. So integrate some movement breaks to break up that sedentary lifestyle that you're in. Beyond that, schedule your time around training and exercises and exercising as well. So the thing is that a lot of times I found that when I was working in the corporate industry many years ago, and I found that I always didn't have time to train or work out at the end of the day because I was just so tired. After a full day of work, that was the last thing I wanted to do. So right now, what I've done and what I get my clients to do is focus on scheduling your day around training. So make that your priority and then work your day around it. So it becomes a focal point so that it's always part of your day. And finally, the takeaway for pillar 1, which is movement, is commit to a crucible. So I've got this QR code. I do actually have a 8-day crucible challenge, which helps you build a leaner, stronger, and healthier body while having a stress-free mind. So you can commit to an online challenge like that. Alternatively, you can commit to a crucible. So, I mean, people ask, Luke, what is a crucible? A crucible sounds like a really painful thing to go through. So really, the true definition of a crucible is a ceramic or metal container in which metals or other substances may be melted or subjected to very high temperatures. Basically, you're transforming one object to another under extreme pressure. So a crucible is also used where Marines go through, like to a certain degree, Hell Week, to transform physically, mentally, and spiritually and become full-fledged servicemen. So I'm not saying for you to go to the military, but what I'm suggesting for you to do is commit to something that is a time-bound goal, a smart goal. For example, a fun run, a swim meet, something that allows for you to shoot towards this particular goal, a virtual run or even Strava challenges. Say, oh, by the end of this month, I'm going to cycle 50K or run 50K. Setting a goal like that is a crucible. It will kind of prompt you to train and feel a little bit better. The next pillar, which is fuel, which is a big one, we're on the Plant-Based Asia Summit. You know, for me, when I was, on a non-plant-based diet, I was on a high amount of animal protein. And in retrospect, and learning about the nutritional science, a lot of the top chronic diseases in this region, Asia Pacific region, is diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, stroke. And a lot of these diseases are attributed to more often than not lifestyle factors, sedentary lifestyle, and of course, majority of it will be the food that we eat. And if we look at the amount of stress that we are exposed to, whether it's environmental stress, pollution, majority of the stress that occurs within our body is our digestive stress. So 40% of the stress we experience is through digestive stress. And the thing about that is we have full control over that. And I read this quote before and it really, really spoke to me. People are fed by the food industry that pays no attention to health and are treated by the health industry that pays no attention to food. Let me repeat that again. People are fed by the food industry that pays no attention to health and are treated by the health industry that pays no attention to food. So I think really, how can we start at least moving towards a cleaner, more a diet that fuels health, fuels fitness, fuels performance? At least from my point of view, coming from a high protein, low carb diet, I was a lot bigger, I would say, but at the same time, I had a lot of digestive issues. My cholesterol was elevated. I had a lot of joint issues, and I thought I knew nutrition until I understood plant-based nutrition. I came from a macro mindset, so meaning that literally I was looking at all my macros, protein, carbs, and fats. But I realized the true understanding for plant-based nutrition or holistic nutrition came when I just had a paradigm shift in the way I was looking at my food, from reductionism to holism, which is whole plant-based foods, nutrient diversity, fiber, water, color. And that is a key to really moving and thriving on a plant-based diet. What is a whole food plant-based diet? Nuts and seeds, whole grains, legumes, fruits and vegetables. And I put that Swiss Army knife there because having done the summit, having been in this lifestyle for almost a decade now, I've realized that this nutritional perspective is the Swiss Army knife of nutrition, because it treats disease, it reverses some chronic diseases, assists with sustainable weight loss, helps with boost longevity, and enhances fitness and athletic performance. So how do you move towards a more nutrient-dense diet? I mean, I would like to leave you with these two kind of points: understanding calorie density and nutrient density. So quite simply, calorie density is when you eat certain foods, nutrients will come into your gut and fiber would come into your gut. So when you consume a diet that's high in fiber and nutrients, you get that stretch in your gut to signal your brain to stop eating. So you won't actually overeat on a plant-based diet when it's full of fiber and full of nutrients, because it's sending a signal up to your brain to stop eating. However, you're eating extremely calorie dense food. You're getting a lot of calories, but you're not getting a lot of stretch. Neither are you getting a lot of nutrients. So you're going to be constantly eating, and then you're going to be spilling over, and a lot of these calorie dense foods are high in saturated fat, inflammatory compounds, salt, oil, and sugar. So being aware of calorie density of foods is key. Food that is perfect in terms of calorie density is whole plant-based foods, once again. And the next thing is also focusing on color, okay? The color of certain foods. Each color represents phytochemical, micronutrient, vitamin, and mineral that your body needs. So look at your colors. Where's my red? Where's my green? Where's my purple? And where's my fiber? So the takeaways for moving towards a much better diet where the nutrition pillar is concerned, I would say the low-hanging fruit is reduce or eliminate dairy or milk consumption, because predominantly about 95% of Asians are allergic or intolerant to dairy at some capacity. We're talking about respiratory issues, eczema, we're talking about digestive stress. So if that's the first thing that you can do, eliminate or reduce dairy consumption. If you would like a resource, go to switchforgood.org. There are a lot of great resources and tips and practical tips on how you can eliminate dairy and move towards more plant-based milk alternatives like soy, almond milk. I mean, I would say in Asia, soy would be very easily accessible. And beyond that, focus on fibering up. So for whole plant-based foods, you're going to get sufficient fiber and of course water and antioxidants and phytochemicals and nutrients that your body needs. So eat the rainbow. When you're looking at your plate, look at where are my greens, where are my reds, where are my purples, where are my oranges. And Dr. Joel Furman, who is on this summit as well, talks about the G-bombs. What are the G-bombs? If you can't really eat the rainbow, focus on the G-bombs, which is greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. So berries could really be fruits, because berries aren't readily available in Asia. So fresh tropical fruit, and of course nuts and seeds. And practice hydration. So basically start drinking more water. Dehydration is often masked by perceived hunger. So really sometimes our body is actually dehydrated, but we perceive it as I'm hungry. So start drinking more water. And I say hydratitude is At the same time, it's about sending gratitude to the water that you're drinking, because the fact that you have clean drinking water out of your tap, you're a lot luckier than hundreds of millions of people in the world. So say thank you to that water, and also hydrate throughout the day with at least two plus liters of water. So the next pillar is sleep and recovery. I mean, I look at sleep like a credit card. You can go to the shops and you just spend. You buy groceries, you buy clothes, you buy shoes. The next thing, at the end of the month, you need to pay whatever you spent back. And that is just like sleep. We're sleeping less these days because, we're working late with blue light. And also, what is your bedtime ritual like? Are you looking at your phone just before bed? And if you're constantly pushing hard, are you working till 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m.? That is all going to affect and create a sleep debt. So this sleep debt is going to create mental fog, weight gain, and possibly chronic diseases down the track. So what can you do? I did a post on social media a while back on the 10 tips on how you can optimize your sleep, whether it's turning your phone off on airplane mode, meditating before you sleep, wearing an eye mask to keep it dark at night, not drinking or eating at least 2 hours before bed. But beyond these 10 points, I'll share with you the key takeaways for optimizing your sleep. The first thing that you can do is to decide on a time to disconnect. So it could be 10 p.m., it could be 9 p.m. Wind that back by about 30 minutes. If you decide to want to disconnect by 9 p.m., all right, wind that back by 30, so by 8:30, heck off. Sometimes when we don't decide for a time to disconnect, we can just go work 9, 10, 11, 12. At least during this summit, my time to disconnect is 10:30 p.m. Normally it's like 8 or 9 p.m. So decide on a time to disconnect and wind that back by about 20, 30 minutes. Make sure your phone, your tech is off. Create a better bedtime ritual. And I don't put my phone in my room for the alarm. I use like a proper alarm clock, because the thing is that when you have your phone alarm, firstly, it's transmitting. If it's not on airplane mode, there's a greater temptation for us to just reach for our phone and just scroll through. So put your phone in a different room, create a better bedtime ritual. Maybe you want to journal, maybe you want to read a fiction book just to fall asleep, and treat that as a daily, nightly ritual. Minimize food and hydration before bed at least 2 hours, so you're not waking up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet. And this is an advanced tip. For me, I tape my mouth when I fall asleep because it forces me to nasal breathe. And I'll go into breathing a little bit later. And nasal breathing has allowed for me to sleep a lot better. So this is a slightly more advanced, but I would say the first thing before even trying to tape your mouth is try and practice nasal breathing, because nasal breathing will bring down your stress, the stress hormone cortisol, and allow for better digestion, better sleep, and better recovery as well. So pillar 4, connection. So connection, I remember taking this picture when I was in the MRT and just blown away, just looking at everyone looking at their phones. And in Singapore, I've gone to family dinners where the whole family across me is just looking at their phones as they're having dinner. So we're hyper connected in Singapore, but in Asia, I would say, but disconnected from each other. There was research done by the American Journal of Preventative Medicine in December 2020. There's an increased risk of depression the more time you spend on social media. And there's also a link between social media use and youth suicide. So it impacts our mental health as well. So on the flip side, we want to look at the blue zones. So the blue zones are 5 pockets of communities around the world, and Dr. Renee Thomas, who's on this summit, shared about the blue zone. She's in one of the blue zones where these populations and communities live beyond 100 and thrive beyond 190 in the 90s and 100s. And drawing the attention to the Power 9, the Power 9 are 9 factors, commonalities between these 5 pockets of communities. And the last 3, which I've highlighted, is a sense of belonging, putting loved ones first, and the right tribe, which is social circles that support healthy behaviors. So connection is a key pillar in longevity, in these blue zones. So I think connection is something that we want to start thinking about throughout the week, throughout the day, and how we connecting to the people around us, not with tech, but face-to-face interactions. What is the takeaway for connection? Really start being present during conversations. Really focus on listening. I mean, we have 2 ears in one mouth. So really focusing on listening with my heart, with the conversation and interaction that I'm in. And the one thing that I do, and I get my clients to do as well, is every now and then when you think of someone that matters to you, send just a voice message or a messenger message. Just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I value you in my life. And I've received messages like that out of blue, and it really makes me feel really, really grateful and happy that I have this person in my life. So send a message to a friend, and also meet up with a friend and talk about life in general, about the kids, about recollect times in your past that you have played together, and the friendship that you shared over the years. And beyond that, I would say connect with communities like going to church, whether it's a run group, whether it's line dancing. My mom used to do line dancing as well. But more importantly, take time to disconnect from your tech devices as well, because the tech devices a lot of times pull us away from real conversations. Pillar 5 is time in nature or silence. We live in a box. We drive in a box and work in a box, and then stare at the box the whole day, coming back home to relax in front of a box. We're all literally boxed in. And a lot of times we spend our days in the four walls, and we're disconnected. We're amongst nature, but we're disconnected from it. This is one of my favorite places in the world, Lock Art and Gorge in the Great Ocean Road in Melbourne. And every time I walk to this particular spot, it just makes me feel free, makes me feel alive. It makes me feel extremely connected to the source. When I moved back to Singapore, I was just like, oh goodness, there isn't Lock Art and Gorge, there isn't the Great Ocean Road, there isn't nature, there isn't the seasons. And I got a little bit depressed when I first came back, because everything is all built up over here. So what did I started to do? I started to schedule time in for nature. So I found nature. I brought nature into my home, put a pot plant next to me, and I scheduled every single Friday to watch the sunrise with my little girl, my wife, Emily, when she's able to. But every Friday we watch the sunrise. And by doing so, it's become our ritual, and it's allowed for me not just to spend quality time with my daughter, but also connect with the earth. So every time when I watch the sunrise, I take off my shoes and just feel the earth beneath me. Because when we're in a tech-driven society and environment, everything is positively charged around us. So what actually happens is we absorb that positive charge, and that will add to our stress levels. It's detrimental to health down the track as well. In saying that though, by connecting with the earth, the earth is negatively charged. By putting your feet and walking barefoot in the garden, by the beach, in the forest, it allows for the positive charge to be absorbed and for you to be grounded with the earth. It helps with diversifying your microbiome as well, because you're breathing in the microbes from the air as well. So what can you do? What is your takeaway for connecting with nature and time away from built up areas? Firstly, schedule time in to just connect with nature. And sometimes it could just be walking to your garden, walking to the park around you, and listening to the trees rustle, using your senses to connect with that present moment, connect with nature. You could bring nature into your home or your office. Maybe you can start investing in a pot plant and just put it on your table. A plant like the snake plant helps with detoxifying the air as well. It removes toxins from the air. So adding a plant to your environment, and spend some time outdoors instead of malls. I mean, with this whole COVID situation and lockdowns, I at least I found that I'm spending a lot more time outdoors. in parks, by Marina Barrage. It's one of my favorite places in Singapore. Watching the sunrise by the sea, going to the beach, going for nature walks. So spend more time outdoors. And the final piece is to walk barefoot. If you can, just walk barefoot in nature and just connect with the earth. Breath and stress. If we're watching the news and you are triggered by someone, it's a lot of times we react to the stimulus or react to the trigger. The best thing that we can do is, before reacting to the trigger, reacting to the disagreement, your child having a meltdown, take a deep breath in. And I love this quote by Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose a response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And that space is the breath. Breath is key for me. And it allows me to just take a step back from what's happening around me and just recalibrate, refocus, and respond to the situation in front of me rather than react to it. I mentioned earlier is learn to breathe through your nose. I've been an asthmatic for most of my life, and learning how to nasal breathe has allowed for me to improve my recovery at training, but also reduce my stress levels, as I've mentioned. But more importantly, it's allowed me to go drug-free. It's been almost a year now that I've been drug-free from my Preventer and my Ventolin as well. The reason why the nasal breathing is optimal is because it boosts your immune systems, because hairs in your nose and also the mucous membranes in your nasal cavity help filter the air. So it's your first line of defense for boosting the immune system. And your whole system is built to take more in by breathing in through your nose. So really start, while you're walking, just really start focusing on practicing how to close your mouth and just breathe through your nose. The next thing is PBTA. What is PBTA? Pause, breathe, think, and then act. As I shared with you, between stimulus and response, there is that space. So before you react to something, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath in. Apply the 3-breath rule. Breathe in for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, and then respond after. So remember PBTA or 3-breath rules to allow yourself to get that space. There's this technique that I advocate for you to try is box breathing. Just Google box breathing. There's a few videos online. It's just basically breathing in a box, breathing for 4 seconds. You decide how long you want the box to be. It could be 4 seconds, a 4 seconds box. So you breathe for 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. And you just repeat the process. You can set it for about 4 to 5 minutes. Do that a couple of times a day, or even one time a day for 5 minutes. And that is going to help bring down your stress levels as well and help you connect to the present moment. And beyond that, focus on what you can versus can't control. So really focusing on what you can do in the situation, focusing on the solutions, because a lot of times we focus on what might happen. We focus on what we have no control over in our lives. But a lot of times we have control over how we eat, how we sleep, how we move, how we breathe. All of these factors, all of the 6 pillars will allow for you to show up a little bit more calm, a little bit more balanced in a crazy world that we live in today. So in summary, I would say have a think about the 6 different pillars and focus on what is the one pillar that you scored the least at. And beyond that, think of what is the one thing that you can do right now to move that number closer to 4 or 5. It's all about having that balance between all your 6 pillars. And once you have that balance between your 6 pillars, you're going to show up with a lot more strength, a lot more courage, a lot calmer, and a lot more present with those around you. With that in mind, thank you very much for being here today and being a part of the summit.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you. That was a really, really inspiring talk. And look, you reminded me that I should be standing. So I'm standing now.
Woohoo!
So I've got
Indeed.
my little foldable desk that you recommended to me. And thank you for the reminder. And also, like, like you said, taste, eat the rainbow. We should be looking, the key is a whole foods plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
G-bombs, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds. But what about if someone can't eat onions, Luke, for like religious reasons? What would you suggest there?
I would say, yeah, that's a great point, because especially in Asia, there's a lot of people that don't eat onions and garlic, and I would say just omit that. The main purpose of G bombs is just basically to have more whole plant-based foods, and that is just key, more fruits and vegetables. So if you don't eat onions or garlic, there's a lot more in the plant kingdom that you can eat. Even when we're looking at spices, different cuisine. I know Thai and Vietnamese, there's a lot of different spices in the broths as well. So focus on the other foods and fruits and vegetables that you can have.
I mean, even in Singapore, you have a lot of vegan restaurants that don't serve garlic and onion, and they're so tasty.
Yeah.
So you still wouldn't be missing out. And yeah, I mean, so many interesting points. Even like you're eating, you can often feel, if you're not, sorry, I think you were saying on a whole foods plant-based diet, you will naturally feel full, or your body will naturally tell you
when to stop eating.
yes,
Right.
which is true. Yeah, we eat way too much. Like I've started fasting on Mondays and Thursdays, but depending on my mood, like I might fast just eating plain foods, like just fruits, nuts, super plain, no salt, no sugar. And actually, I have more energy on those days than the days where I start with a cup of coffee. It's quite
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing, exactly right, because you're also getting a lot of nutrients, and the thing is that with things like stimulants like coffee, you're getting that perk, but you're creating biological debt. You will get that dip at some point. It's just like sleep as well. You can go days on end without sleep. After a while, you're gonna reach that tipping point, and you're just gonna be paying back for days, weeks, maybe even weeks down the track for that bender that you had.
So many practical tips that we can all learn from, Luke. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
My pleasure.
The
My
guru,
pleasure.
Luke. So, I mean, next we are actually coming up to our last segment of the summit, which is a fitness session. It's actually a virtual groove with Secret Sunrise Singapore. So, like you said, Luke, it's about getting movement in. So hopefully you'll all join us. If you haven't already registered, please quickly do. There's still time. And we will see you there.